What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Nick 4K video. Today we're checking out a video from Jeff over at Films at Home. He's going to be covering the whole debacle going on with James Cameron and his 4K transfers. For those of you who may not know, I'm sure he's going to be covering it in this video. But he said some things recently that have made a lot of fans mad. And we're just going to jump into the video, and I'll be giving my thoughts as we go on. So if you guys enjoyed this video, you want to see more like this, make sure to like, subscribe, turn notifications for more. And if you have any cool ideas for future videos you want to see me check out, let me know in the comments below. And if I use your suggestion in that video, I will give you a shout out. So with that said, let us begin.
So James Cameron said some kind of wild stuff about physical media collectors and enthusiasts the other day, and I just want to talk about it. A lot of you guys sent this to me, so you may have seen the quote, but basically James Cameron was being interviewed and he did get a question about his recent remasters of The Abyss, Aliens, and True Lies, and that controversy surrounding those releases. And his response was essentially, if you're sitting there and reviewing the grand structure of movies, you need to move out of your mother's basement. It wasn't the best answer I've ever seen from a celebrity. James Cameron can come off as pretty arrogant and, a little bit closed-minded many times when he's asked questions about that, or especially when he's challenged on something related to his films.
Yes, he seems like the type of guy that, like, if he gets asked the same question multiple times, eventually it gets annoying. And I think that's fair. I mean, for a certain point of view, I think we're all kind of like that. Like, after a while, like, things get annoying. Like, it's like you try to be honest the first couple times, and then when you eventually start getting the more questions over and over again, it eventually comes to the point where you're like, all right, like, shut up, stop being a baby about it, It happens.
But I just wanted to respond to that comment because even though he didn't phrase it the way I would have, I sort of see where he's coming from, but I also have issues with what he's saying because he should be a little bit more aware of his audience. Let me start with the issues I have. First of all, James, listen, if you're remastering your films like The Abyss and True Lies and Aliens, and you're putting those in theaters and selling tickets for re-releases and then selling the 4K discs, and you're banking on all of that work and all that effort you put in to, obviously, I would think, make you some money. Not that he cares, he's a billionaire, but you would think that at least the people who worked on it, you would want to make them some money, and this should be a profitable exercise if you're a filmmaker. By telling people that they should get out of their mother's basement and essentially making the assumption that, everybody who's interested in this stuff is, quote unquote, a loser who doesn't have a life, you're alienating the audience that actually buys those tickets.
Yeah. Like I stated, he said the same thing. It's probably not the best way to go about that. I get he probably gets that question a lot, and it was just in the midst of the situation, he just kind of, like he said, he can be arrogant, but just because you didn't mean to say something or it came out wrong, or like in the midst of the situation, you kind of just blurted something out. There's still repercussions because of that, and that's kind of what's going on with this situation.
Who do you think is showing up to watch The Abyss in theaters remastered, or True Lies, or Aliens? Like, it's your most hardcore fans, and your most hardcore fans are the ones who are going to care the most about the way that those re-releases look and the way that those remasters look. So I found the comment really odd because, like, who are you doing that work for? You're doing that work to appeal to the superfans, and then you're telling the superfans that they're losers. And now I know not everybody who goes to see those remasters and who bought the discs cares about that stuff. Like, there are just James Cameron superfans who are going to watch it no matter what and enjoy it. But you really are alienating in talking about a core part of, I think, your audience, especially at least on the 4K disc side, that care about that stuff. So it was a really odd comment, and I wonder if he truly just feels that way and says, screw you guys. Like, I do get that vibe from him. I've never been a huge fan. I like his movies, his older movies. I don't care much for Avatar. Titanic is okay. His newer stuff, honestly, since like the mid-90s, I haven't really cared for James Cameron much. He hasn't done much for me. But it was just really odd to alienate that group. Like, who do you think is watching and caring about that stuff? People who pay attention to it. Now, not to be on James' side here, but to play devil's advocate, I do understand a little bit of what he's saying, because I have said similar things in the past, especially recently, not to the level of, the insult that he dropped, calling everybody a loser essentially. But I do think that we get lost in the sauce sometimes. We start pixel peeping is what I and others have called it. And we start getting too deep into these discs and like breaking down frame by frame, screenshot versus screenshot, zooming in on things, just basically watching things in a way that's totally unnatural. Like if you're going to watch a movie in a theater, or if you were to watch something, and you didn't know the difference between Blu-ray, 4K, whatever, and nobody told you what kind of disc you were watching, like you wouldn't sit there and take pictures and freeze frame and zoom. Like it's just a totally unnatural way to watch a movie. At that point, you're watching a disc, and you're
so like normies, they don't get that, and that's fair. And for me personally, and this might be like a little bit I might get some hate for this. I actually think that the True Lies Transfer, Aliens, and Abyss, they all looked great. I thought they looked great. Sure, was there some signs of DNR? Obviously, and that's what this whole situation is about, the whole debacle about this. But for me, like I said, on my OLED, it looked great. When I think about it, if I take a step back and I kind of look at how I felt watching all those films, and by the time I got to the end, did that bother me that much? And it really didn't. I still appreciated the extra resolution of the 4K. The HDR looked great on them. I think that there was just enough grain in the shots. It wasn't super clean. I think a lot of people kind of are up in arms about that, and I think it was okay. I don't think it was that nearly as bad as people were saying. Do I still understand the arguments? Yeah. Like if you are a really big fan of like keeping things as close to what they actually were when they're first filmed, yeah, you're gonna be bothered by this because this is not what was filmed, right? It was altered. So that makes sense why you would be offended in that type of sense. But like I said, flipping the coin there, it's also what James Cameron wants, right? Like he made it this way. He sat there in the editing booth and he made sure that it was the way he wanted. So, it's the question is it better now or is it worse now? It is the person who made the film, who is the director, James Cameron. He presented us with another version of his film that isn't more to the original way it was filmed, but it's more the way to his liking. So which one is better? I don't know. I mean, if you're going to compare a Blu-ray to a 4K, I always will pick the 4K. There is just the extra quality there. I understand the arguments, like I said, but for me, I'm actually happy to have True Lies, Aliens, and Abyss as part of my collection on 4K. So that's just me. That's how I feel.
Watching a remaster, and that's what burnt me out mostly on doing all the 4K reviews. I didn't feel like you're a loser for caring about grain structure and things that I've talked about in the past, but I did think that it was just too much. Like I understand what he's saying, like it's too much. Like everybody has something to complain about essentially every release that comes out now. Nothing is ever good enough for that hardcore group of people. Everybody has a complaint. Like I get that. I was feeling burnt out by that. I just wanted to watch movies and enjoy them. And that's where I understand.
Wait, Jeff, hold on, Jeff. Are you telling me that I can just watch a movie and actually just enjoy it? You're telling me I can't pixel peep? I thought as a 4K collector, I have to make sure that everything is exactly perfect. And if it isn't, I have to complain. You're telling me I can just sit back and enjoy a film for what it is? No. No way. That's impossible. Don't even try to do that, Jeff. Nice try.
He could have said it a little bit more eloquently for especially somebody who's, in the public eye as much as he is. And of course, when he gets challenged, he tends to get that way. He tends to just get
he lashes out.
Insanely aggressive.
Yeah.
He's gotten this way about other stuff too. So I'm not surprised. And honestly, he's a billionaire, so he can say, I don't care about you.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
And it won't affect him. But I do get that part of it. Like, we do need to move past looking at the grain structure and, just if you don't like it, don't buy it. Watch your Blu-ray, watch your DVD. Like, we can't tell James Cameron what to do with his films. We can't. And I've always felt that way. Even, I don't get as, obviously when I reviewed the James Cameron movies, I think First of all, True Lies is as good as it's ever looked,
I
regardless
agree.
of its issues. The same with Aliens and the same with Abyss.
Yeah.
They're all the best they've ever looked.
They
Are
are.
they perfect? No. But if I'm buying 4K, I want the best they've ever looked, and that's what I've got. I didn't get perfection. I'm okay with that because it looks better than anything I've had in the past. But I'm not a huge James Cameron super fan either. So I wasn't going to get all uptight about the way that these looked because I really just wanted certain things like True Lies in an HD format so I can enjoy it and not have to, buy a bootleg or watch a DVD or something. I just wanted a high quality version of it. I got that. Not perfect, but I got it and I was happy. I understand if you're a super fan how you could get lost in that world, but something like
that's
Star
right.
Wars.
True Lies wasn't on DVD. That was a big thing. That's right. That was the first time it was on 4K. It skipped Blu-ray, didn't it? That's right. See, why complain? Like, it's one thing if there was a Blu-ray that was out and it was good enough and it was actually even better than the 4K. That makes sense. But there's not even a Blu-ray of that thing. The 4K is the best version. I think it's good. I really liked it. So I don't know.
Which I am a super fan of. I've come to terms with just like George Lucas is going to do what he wants. And I'm not going to let that ruin the movie watching experience for me. Yeah, now when I watch Star Wars A New Hope and I watch Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, there's weird things that were in there that weren't in there when I watched them as a kid. I have the VHS tapes with the originals if I ever want to go back to them, but it doesn't bother me anymore. I'm just like, it's such minor stuff that's changed. Whatever. I'm still enjoying the movie, watching the movie for what it is. Now I may feel differently if somebody had messed with Jaws, if somebody had messed with Halloween, movies that are deeply, deeply close to me, that I am in that 1% of super fans. I understand.
That's a
where you
fair
guys are
point.
coming from on the
That's
True
a fair
Lies stuff.
point.
Yeah, and
But-
I get it. It's just for me.
But for me, it's like an example of like the Lord of the Rings 4Ks. Like, I know that they could be better, but I do think that people nitpick them too much. And that might be a big point, like, because big fans want the best of what they can get. For me, Lord of the Rings is my favorite trilogy. You probably already know this if you watch my videos for a long time, but it is my favorite trilogy. I think, although it is 3 movies, I look at it as one big movie. It is the best movie that's ever been created, in my opinion. There are other movies that maybe quality-wise could be considered better, pure one single films, cinematic films, but overall, best movie in all time was Lord of the Rings, all 3 movies combined. I like the best of what I can get, but the 4K transfers is what got me into 4K collecting. So I started collecting and then I found out, actually the transfers aren't even as good as they could be. So I do think one day we're going to get actual full transfers of those, if not maybe an 8K transfer of those at some point, and that's time to do it when it's like fully the best version you can get, 8K. Let's do it. I know that might be a wishful thinking, but I want it. Give it to me.
And I think for 99% of the public, we just don't care. We just wanted a good version of the movie. A lot of people are totally oblivious to it, wouldn't even know what to look for, wouldn't think twice about it, which is why, he is kind of calling out that hardcore 1%, which is on one hand why I think it's odd, because those are his biggest super fans. But on the other hand, I get it. We can't please everybody. He's pleased 99% of the world, but the 1% that's being the loudest and complaining about these, and now he's getting asked questions about it in interviews. I'm sure he's frustrated by it, but you kind of made your bed, lie in it, back your remasters, which he did. He backed them. He said those are, done by everybody who does my remasters, and I look at every frame, and if that's what he wanted, that's what he wanted. But I just thought those comments were really interesting. It brought back up a point about like how directors and filmmakers can mess with their movies over time. It brought up a point about remasters. It brought up a point about, again, like watching a movie versus watching a disc and the difference between those two things, and just enjoying physical media and movies for what they are, like getting high quality versions of films. And I know this isn't as good as we could have gotten, but again, the best we've ever had, so I can't complain. It brought up a lot of those points, and so I just wanted to make this little quick off-the-cuff video to talk about that and give my thoughts on it, because a lot of you have asked on Instagram DMs and sent me some emails with links to the article. So there are my thoughts. James came off as kind of an asshole. He
is kind of
seems
one.
like he is kind of an asshole a lot of times.
I mean,
He's
that's
kind
it.
of earned the right to be a bit of an asshole.
Yeah,
if he
I
wants
mean,
to be at this point.
Yeah.
He's done more in Hollywood than most people ever will, ever have. So I get it. He also has the right to tinker and play with his films however he wants to. But I would say, James, next time, think about your super fans, man. Think about that 1% that truly care. If they're voicing their concerns in a constructive, respectable way, I think you should address them. If they're screaming from the rooftops and just screaming that it's garbage and it's trash and all the other things that
and there are people who are like that. Like,
I get.
There are people who what he just described. Like, there are people who actually like Jeff. I would say he's a super good, like, he looks at quality. You know, he doesn't attack anyone. He kind of gives his own personal opinions on certain things, but he keeps it overall fair. But I have seen other YouTubers. I'm not going to point them out, but there are other physical media YouTubers out there who will do exactly what he said, and they'll just scream. They'll complain. They'll go to the rooftop and just start yelling at James. Why, James? Why? Why? You know, remember like early 2000s, like original trilogy supremacists? You know how we used to talk about them? They kind of have subsided as time has gone on because they saw the sequels, but they were the worst. And it's kind of what those type of people are. So if you ever thought like, oh, what is he talking about? What do they mean by someone who does that? It's one of those type of people, like an original trilogy supremacist. Like, it's one thing to like the original trilogy more than the prequels, or maybe even dislike the prequels. That's fine. But then to also go and attack the creators and attack like the person who played Jar Jar Binks, it's stupid. It's so stupid. I'm glad a lot of the supremacists have since either changed their mind or have moved on from the platform. Overall, yeah, it's every fan base is gonna have that. That's just the way it is.
Get it. You don't need to give those people the time of day. Totally understand it. But James, I hope you don't think we're all losers because we buy your movies. Because trust me, we're not. 4K, Blu-ray, physical media, DVDs, building a movie collection. You know, it is a little offensive. I know who you're addressing with your comments, but it was a little rough to read, honestly, as somebody who really enjoys this stuff. It's like, I don't live in my mother's basement. Most of you guys don't. I haven't lived in my mother's basement for many years.
Oh, I wish I could live in my mother's basement. My mom has a big basement I wish I could live in, rent-free. Oh, that'd be great. It's so funny how society has kind of changed like that. Like, it used to be like frowned upon to live at your parents' house, and now when you hear like one of your friends lives at their parents' house, you're like, man, you lucky. It's because life is so expensive. All right, that's a little ad lib. We're almost finished. Let's
we'll admit, at one point I did, after college, live in my mother's basement. I think we've all been there, but I don't right now. And I have a family, and lots of you guys, you have families, you have jobs, you have kids. Like, it's a little bit bigger than the simplified stereotype that he threw out there, which I just think is a little bit dangerous and probably doesn't do the physical media world any favors.
Yeah.
He's definitely not helping the cause when he's calling people out like that. I appreciate you all giving me a heads up on this, sending it over to me. It's always nice to have new things to comment on and help create content. I thought this was definitely a good thing to talk about. So hopefully you enjoyed this little off-the-cuff chat. If you did, subscribe to the channel so you get all the latest. Make sure to follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, whatever you want to follow me on. I'm on all the platforms. You can find those links in the video description as well. And I just appreciate y'all coming out to the video and watching each week as you do. So thank you all. Appreciate the support. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy out there, and I'll talk to you all soon.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, so pretty much what it comes down to is exactly what he just said. I do think it was one of those things where he's a jerk. You know, James Cameron has a jerk personality. You know, he is, when it comes to writing and creating movies, he's a genius. We all know that. It's just one of those things where, you know, it is what it is. I'm not super offended by it. I know he wasn't necessarily targeting that at me, but it does hurt everybody when you target one person, right? Because we're all part of one group, even if we have the loud minority. Because me and him, we are collectors. I'm sure you're watching this, you're probably a collector yourself. Whether you collect big, you collect small. It does kind of hurt the format to do that. But, you know, sometimes you lash out. Sometimes you hear something over and over again, and it's just like, all right, shut up. Stop complaining about it. You're lame, you know. He lashed out. I don't want to necessarily apologize for him. I just think, you know, I'm a human being. He's a human being, and although he's a much richer human being, you know, it doesn't put him above the wall of being kind or, you know, doing his thing. I don't know. It is what it is. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is all blown out of proportion? Do you think that maybe he should apologize or something, do something like that? Let me know in the comments below, guys. Thanks again, Jeff, for this good video. Jeff's probably like the biggest of the physical media content creators that I've seen, at least as far as I know. I don't watch a lot of them, but I have seen like Jeff probably the most, and I do trust a lot of his reviews. I think he's very genuine, and I think he definitely deserves to be like at the top of the podium as far as the physical media content creators go. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn notifications for more videos, and until next time, I'll catch you later. Peace.